Well, hello, everybody, and good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of the award winning Recovery Podcast brought to you by the McShin Foundation. Get in the herd. Today, we are in the herd with, of course, our ever present and ever fabulous Mr. Justin B over there.
Hi
Still,
there.
I've known him for 3.5 years, and I will not say his last name. So, I'm Nathan Mitchell, and we're co hosting today with the ever amazing. There's so what words can I use to describe Moses? Well, we'll just start with that. The ever amazing Moses Wright in how do we describe that? Long term recovery. I love that. So, Moses, welcome to the show. Like, we didn't come up with a theory, a theme, a topic for the day. We said freewheeling, but I see you brought a whole bunch of stuff with you. I like that preparedness.
My
I've got
mother used to say, "What are you gonna do when you lose your paper?"
so tell me about your mother.
Oh my goodness, she's deceased. Uh, she was quite phenomenal, and she
Move
lived.
move the mic down a little bit so I can see that pretty face. There
Okay.
you go.
Yeah,
There
look
we
at that.
Um, and she's in my head all of the time.
Ooh.
Yeah, all of the time. Uh, what happens though is I'm able to have more of a communication with her. I listen to her more now than I did back then. Thank God, you know. So and that's what I wanted to talk about. Or let's see, our group on Wednesday night with the loved ones and who they are and what they bring to the table. Um, when I think of that, the group of loved ones of our participants, um, that's another group where the stigma is just horrific. I heard someone say the other day that we deal with dysfunctional families. I try to stay away from that one,
Hmm.
right? Families who are not in recovery, who get into recovery, then we have to teach them how to act, because just like the participants, they don't know. They do not know. And the amount of pressure that they're under from their friends, family, and others, like for instance, why don't you do something about this guy who's drinking or this girl who's running away from home because she's using? They don't know what to do. They don't know what to do, and that's what we attempt to introduce them to in the group. And what we want to start with is introducing them to the um, programs outside of here, where they can go and be heard and learn some things about how to deal with this condition.
So what I love. So let's for anybody watching and listening for I guess the first time, the families meeting that Moses was talking about. That's and every Wednesday at 7 or 6:45 p.m. 6:40. Yeah,
6:45 is good. We can
right.
kick it.
Yeah, right after the community meeting that McShin hosts here at the foundation. And any of the family members of the participants, is this correct? All family members of participants are welcome to join,
Yes.
and we've had that through Zoom too.
Hmm.
Do you have past participant family members ever come by?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so this is sort of like an introduction to other outlets, so where you can get deeper into the weeds. So when you mentioned that, what are the other resources available to family members?
Well, the ones I think about first off is church,
Mm.
then Al-Anon, Nar-Anon, Families Anonymous. Those are the ones that come to mind first off. because they use the same steps that our participants will be using as they continue in recovery. Maybe not everybody, but for the most part, working steps is important.
Mm.
Mhm.
Now I know that you I've been able to sit in on those groups occasionally, and
Mhm.
I love hearing the family members. It it helps me to relate to my own family. So
Mm.
I know that you do. I think it's what, the last Wednesday of the month, where you invite the loved one, the family members, and the loved one, the
Participant.
participant, to come together.
And we haven't gotten back to that since COVID.
Oh,
But next month we will do that, the last week in the month, and that's an awesome group.
yeah.
That's an awesome group. What I think about is how families um, digress in their relationships. They come apart rather than come together.
Mm.
Uh, and communication is so important in that. And if I may, I think about
Oh no.
yeah,
Oh no.
the day I met you.
I knew that's where you were
Yeah,
going,
the,
man.
the day I met you, and what you represent to me
Mm.
is just progress. And the way you are the example of how this program works. That first day in the office downstairs, there was hardly any communication between you and your loved one. But today, I hear you looking forward to family activities and being a part of what's going on. It's just different.
It is. I,
It's different.
I texted my mother this morning,
Yes.
and I'm still a little annoyed that she hasn't
They're
responded.
funded, yeah. You want to hear from her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I
Mhm.
mean, I remember that, but
Yeah.
but I'm in a space right now with two people I've known since the day I got here,
Uh-huh.
both of you, and I've
Yeah.
known you for probably an hour longer than I've
Right.
known Justin, which is funny to me. But what that
Yeah.
gives me, as a looking back, is a lot of hope.
Yeah.
It gives me a lot of,
Yeah.
okay, cool. And
Yeah.
I know, I mean, I know a lot of Justin's story. I know a little of your story.
Mhm.
What I do know is that you've got that long term recovery,
Mhm.
and here you are doing the same thing you're telling me that I should be doing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that's like, okay,
Yeah.
cool, because I see you and I'm like, all right, I know he ain't got it all figured out.
No.
But he keeps working on it
Yeah.
one day at a time, and he
Yeah.
keeps asking questions, and he keeps challenging me. I
Yeah.
always appreciate that you challenge me.
Keep the research going, and what's new on the horizon. Of course, there's nothing, but different people get to articulate it. So we move further. And some of my favorites, Virginia Satir, Tion Dayton,
Hmm.
Sharon Wakescheider Cruz. That's old school. All of them are old school, and what they talk about is the family
Mm.
and how to bring the family together, how to help loved ones to be more concerned with themselves. And what I think about is then they can be an example of recovery for their loved ones, rather than continuing to enable them.
Mm.
uh, we had a lady last night, and she was talking about her child who's dual diagnosed, and she's just worried, right? But as we talked, I asked her, what is he doing, right? And she says he keeps using. That's the key.
Mm.
He keeps using. And when you're trying to solve his problems for him, guess what? He's not learning to solve his problems. We've got him. We'll help him on his way. And we need to help you find your way so that you can be the power of example
Mm.
for your loved one.
Well, I like so we did have a couple of comments, and
Mhm.
they were, I think they were mostly just hey family. There was one from Akron, Ohio. Akron, Ohio loves getting the herd and the McShin Foundation.
Stacy is on there.
Stacy
Yeah.
Nardi says hello Moses, great seeing you.
Yeah.
Hey family from Denny Wilson. That's Ohio. I'm not Denny. Good to see you, buddy.
Mhm.
Throw in questions if you got them here. But I tell you, I see you got some other paperwork over there. What's going on with that? Oh
Uh,
wait, actually, before we do that, I wanted to say so. Tion Dayton, right?
yeah.
That's emotional sobriety. That's
Emotional sobriety.
I am about halfway into that.
Yeah.
It's a dense.
It
Well,
is.
it's a listen because I have it on Audible,
Uh-huh.
and I believe it's her reading it. I love listening.
Yeah.
But it's dense, but
It's
good.
it's tough starting,
Mm.
but what I like about it is that it's a reference source, and so I can go to areas that pertain to what I'm wanting to know more of. Yeah, and she breaks it down just like no other.
I'm actually surprised at how thick. Well, again, it's an Audible. I have it a book
Yeah,
on tape, but I'm surprised at just how compelling it is.
yeah,
First of all,
yeah,
and also just how much information is there. And
yeah,
I'll be honest, I've been reading it for a year or listening to it
yeah,
for a year on and
yeah.
off. But always, when I'm listening, I'm really paying attention. It's very compelling, and it's really relatable.
And
Really relatable.
and she has another one
Mm.
that goes even deeper.
I've
You know.
I've seen some of her YouTube videos.
Oh yeah,
The what is the technique that she uses? The not role modeling. Darn it. I didn't mean to have come in here and have a conversation about her, so I wasn't thinking. But
psychodrama.
psychodrama, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I see that. I see that technique. It's a
yeah,
bit. It's intimidating when I look at it.
yeah,
But boom, Johnny Fab. Good to see you, man.
yeah.
Johnny Fab, congratulations on your 4.0, man. I see you on Facebook doing big things. He's working on becoming a social worker.
All
Johnny
right.
Fab over there. So what did you bring with you today?
Well, one of the things that we attempt to talk with loved ones about is becoming their own best friend.
Ooh.
Yeah, becoming their own best friend. And when I think of the kind of self-talk that comes out of the stigma of being the loved one of a person who's using, um, it's quite a bit of pressure, right?
Hmm.
But loved ones put that pressure on themselves because they don't know how to change the dialogue. And one of the things that we try to do is to introduce the strategy and to help them look at how they talk to themselves internally and
Mhm.
how we can adjust that so that it's kinder, they're kinder to themselves. Um, for instance, how do you comfort yourself? That's important to me.
Hmm.
Every morning, that's my start. How do I comfort myself? Because that's a challenge because of the stuff that's going on in my head. Um, when I think of what does it sound like being in a group like we're in, we all get to listen to each other and we get to give feedback to each other. What we're hearing the person say. And they've become quite good at it. And so that's encouraging to me because when there are changes like that, they take that with them so that they can continue to grow in that area and take better care of themselves. How do you work with an inner voice like that? And we all deal with that,
Yeah.
right? There was a guy years ago who talked about reframing the negative messages at least 500 times a day. I said, what? 500? You know, I think he came in a little under. We need need a little more because the negativity that I put on myself uh, has to be reframed before it can become a message that will move me forward, as well as move the others around me forward. Um, we have a saying in recovery that look for the good in people, places, and things. Oh my goodness. How wonderful is that? Look for the good in people, places, and things. I think that creates a mindset, a state of mind that allows me to see the positive. And for sure, our participants could use that
Mm.
because all they've heard is the negative side, but how to get into recovery and how to maintain. We of course have the meetings, sponsorship, and networks. All of that is important
Mm.
to this recovery process.
There was something you just said about looking for the good in people, places, and things, and that's I think perhaps that's an answer to the question we had right before the show, Justin, where we talked about how do we know if the people around us are support. What was the question?
Right.
Yeah, how do we know if we're in the good herd?
Right. In the
Essentially,
good herd. Yeah.
because I was out to lunch with a participant right before the show, and who was discussing that some frustration with feeling shunned by people in recovery. And I said, well, what are you doing to model your recovery right now? And well, it wasn't doing any of the suggestions,
Yeah.
none of the suggestions,
Right.
except for not using it, which is that's a great one right off the bat.
Good beginning.
It's a good beginning, but he's stressed that other people that don't want to do anything with him. And I said, well, it essentially boiled down to if you want good recovery outcomes, you got to do recovery shit.
Yeah,
know?
and I think about the role that fear plays plays in being able to step out and be a part of others. Again, that negative self-talk.
Yeah.
And sometimes rather than risk that being with others, I'll just stay to myself, thinking that I'm safe, when in fact I'm probably the most dangerous person around.
You made a suggestion to me. I know I talk. You know what I'm going to say here, I think, but you made a suggestion to me early on when I got here, when I was just a wee participant, and I'm sitting there and I was talking about whatever I was rambling on about, but I was talking about myself and I kept referring to myself as an asshole. And you very kindly suggested that I don't do that.
Yeah.
And you left it at that.
Yeah.
You didn't explain. You didn't, which was really annoying for me at the time, but gave me. I've thought about it clearly a lot in the last 3 years, and it's one of those things that I take that I use when I'm in groups. Now I share that experience because what it taught me was, okay, if I continue to tell myself I'm an asshole, well, that's what I am. If I tell myself I'm a guy who did some asshole things, which is true, then I have an agency to not do asshole things and to do, the good things.
And even better when things that I am doing.
Oh, now that's tough. That's tough.
But that takes up the space.
Oof.
And that gives the message that's encouraging, and it helps to build our self-esteem.
Oof.
I'm a victim of that. I do that to myself. There's so many messages that I hold on to from the past. Not that anyone gave them to me necessarily, but it's how I interpreted them that causes me the problem, causes me to be stuck. So to be around you guys and be able to hear some positive things about myself helps me to think more of what are some of those things that I bring to the table.
Yeah. There's a there's a there's a thing that I say. I don't know where I heard this or if I did hear this somewhere, but I was referring to um, hate speech.
Mm,
Hateful words being used at me, and in reference to that and discussing that, yes, it sucks, and yes,
mhm,
there's a some sort of issue associated with that. But
mhm,
what I got to my thinking was that words have as much power as I give them.
mhm,
But the duality of that is I can still uplift somebody
mhm,
with
mhm.
words. And so,
So why not start with
yeah,
me?
why not start with me?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
like that.
And I don't get it right every
Ooh.
time, but I get the opportunity to reframe it and put the positive message in there, and that's changing behavior. You know.
Oof.
Hmm.
Oof. What else you got over here?
Well,
Becoming your own
how
best
would
friend.
yeah? How would you like to like your inner best friend's voice to sound?
Ooh.
How would you like that to sound? I can pretty much bet that when I listen to a person who is berating another person, uh, I believe that that's what they're doing to themselves.
Mm.
That's what they're doing to themselves. Now may seem like an outlet, but if I'm doing that to you, then what's my base of reference?
Mm.
Yeah, there's some literature that talks about folks who are addicted uh, hating ourselves, right? I believe that.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And until I change that, uh, that's what I'll continue to do. I'm so grateful for McShin uh, because you guys have supported me first 5 or 6 years by just allowing me to be around. When I'm in group, I feel absolutely no pain.
Mm.
So you know what that is, right? I'm helping somebody else.
Therapeutic value of
Yeah,
yeah.
you know. Now, as soon as I step out of the door, it'll begin to wear away.
Mm.
So how do I keep that going? That's uh, with the information that I get, the people that I surround myself with, and those who I help.
Mm.
Can't keep it unless I give it away, and that's what McShin has meant to me. And I'm so grateful that you guys have allowed me to stay around here in my weakened state. Because energy wise, I just haven't had much. I can feel it getting better,
Oh,
you
during
know.
COVID?
Well,
Or
before even,
really?
yeah, even
Whew.
before. There are a lot of things probably that I could do for McShin that I haven't done, you know. So I'm hoping that I can do a little more anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. I
I like
always
that.
put it on my wife that she won't allow me to come out, but that's not true. That's not true. Although I do attempt to take care of home.
Well, that is important. There was a so I want to share with you something that happened a few weeks ago. We talked about it on the show briefly yesterday too. I had the opportunity in Vegas to
Mm-hmm.
do this uh, coaching with individuals in public narrative, and
Mm-hmm.
and there was so much about that was fantastic, and there was well, not dissecting the process, but getting to the very beginning before we went out as coaches.
Mm-hmm.
That Saturday morning at 6:45 a.m. We all sat around and we sort of shared our common
Yeah.
fear,
Yeah.
and we did this exercise. Rosie had us do this exercise where we we drew or wrote our monster. We named the the thing in there that
Mhm.
tells us we're not good enough or smart
Mhm.
enough and we don't deserve this
Mhm.
and we're not going to make a contribution and
Mhm.
all that hateful stuff. And we named it, and
Mhm.
she had named hers, and she drew a picture of it,
Mhm.
and so we all took time and a half sheet of paper and we said, let's put that. And
Mhm.
for now, we're going to take it, we're going to fold it up, and we physically locked the pictures in a box.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then afterwards, we got to get the picture back.
Mhm.
And I think I liked that. I was questioning whether the getting the back part was necessary,
Mhm.
and I come to the conclusion, for me at least, that it seemed, I was scared to give away that fear, because it's such a familiar
Mhm.
set of
Mhm.
in the back there. And funny enough, the picture I drew kind of looked like Elvis, but that's
Okay.
neither here nor
Okay.
there.
Yeah.
And
But it is important to you.
well, it's comical, and we're talking fat, bloated Elvis too. So, um, but getting it back at the end, it was like, all right, cool, I got this thing back, but you're not as intimidating to me anymore.
Uh-huh.
I've
Uh-huh.
done this.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
done this, and I want to do it again. And
Right.
you're not gonna tell me no, but you
Right.
can. But I'll let you invade the rest of, because he's an invasive little bastard, right?
Mhm.
And I can let him get into the other thoughts for the other
Mhm.
things, and I can work on that for the next time.
Yeah.
I have something, but for this, we've done this. I want to do it again. You don't got
Mhm.
me on this anymore. And I think it was a neat
Exercise.
shared
Yeah.
experience too. I mean,
Mhm.
as a one-on-one thing, it was great. I, I don't do rituals like that very
Right.
often, and I liked that as a group ritual,
Right.
shared ritual experience. So that was a really powerful thing. And we talk
Right.
about groups and
Mhm.
being in the group, and how we get past the self, those negative
Mhm.
self thoughts, and what we do, and I do that, right before every show.
Mhm.
It's usually, all right, let me get something to eat real quick. And then it's
Mhm.
like, I'm always stressing out because for whatever reason at 1:30, it's like, let's go get food now.
Changing your
Yeah.
state.
Changing the
Yeah.
state. There's the things
Mhm.
I can do
Yeah.
to put myself in a best
Right.
friend self mode. And there's those tools I learned in
Yeah.
recovery too.
I like what we've done with how we refer to a person with the substance use disorder. We avoid addict and alcoholic, and we talk about a person with substance use disorder, drug abuser, person with a substance use disorder,
Hmm.
drug abuse, drug misuse, harmful use, risky use, drug problem, drug habit, substance use disorder again, being clean, abstinent, not actively using, dirty, actively using, a clean drug screen, testing negative for um, substance use, a dirty drug screen, and we've changed the way that we refer, and I'm in favor of that. And I think about communication also, like we were talking, how I communicate with myself, how I
Hmm.
even communicate with another person, being descriptive in what I say to a person, rather than have it be evaluative uh, to a person. Make it descriptive. Um, Make sure it's specific rather than general. Um, Taking into account the needs of both people, the speaker as well as the receiver of the information. This is one that I really like. Um, when I refer to someone, make sure that, or when I ask a question, make sure it's a question that the person can answer. I think of the way I've known it is to to abuse a person and get them in a corner so that they can't answer a question. It's unfair. It's unfair.
Hmm.
And it's manipulative
Hmm.
behavior. Give a person an opportunity to be able to answer, to respond, so that the communication can it's well timed. When I say what I say, just makes a difference. Especially when I'm talking to someone else. Feedback is not a subtle way of forcing another person to reveal themselves. See, that's manipulative. That's
Uh-huh.
not what feedback is intended to do in a healthy way. So feedback is a way of giving help. It's a corrective mechanism for anyone who wants to learn about his behavior, his or her behavior, and how they can move beyond it. We set up scenarios for the person so that they can begin to answer their own questions. That's where a person learns. They don't learn from me. They learn from what they're able to tell themselves, and it comes across so clearly in the first step. Until I admit I'm powerless, I don't have a beginning. So it's important to name it, like you said about the name it, and then what do I want to do about
Hmm.
it? That makes a difference for me.
I like that. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
You were talking. You were giving examples of stigmatizing language and fresher updates of that. And so I have a question, because I kind of got stumped a little bit yesterday. Not so much stumped, I guess, but situation came up yesterday, and I was doing orientation yesterday for the group. I was, just we were going over the
Mm-hmm.
rules, but I usually start that particular group the same way every time.
Mm-hmm.
And I ask, is there anyone in here who does not identify as an addict or an
Mm-hmm.
alcoholic? And, almost always everybody,
Mm-hmm.
stays with their hand down.
Right.
And I make a joke, because if you do not, then you may want to consider your choices that have led you to this room at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Ha 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 ha
Mm-hmm.
ha. And so I said that, and then I went into the disease of addiction,
Mm-hmm.
and the disease and what that means. And a participant sort of challenged the not
Mm-hmm.
the disease idea, but the idea, the same idea that, well, why don't we just stop?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a doctor. I don't have the sciencey answers to say that. I know there's things about chemical balance and we getting past that threshold and blah blah blah, but I didn't quite have an answer that filled, that I felt was responsible to
Mm-hmm.
give him. So what do you say to people who say that? Why don't you just stop?
Mm-hmm.
Because I do hear that out in the world. And this is
Mm-hmm.
a person who identifies as an addict. This is a person who identifies as somebody who just needs to be in the room, brand new here. What do I say? What do
Yeah.
you say?
Well, I attempt to meet the person where they are.
Mm.
And if they don't think they have a problem with, I will ask the question, well, what is your problem?
Oh.
Yeah. So let's start with that. And what I found is that we make it around to the, the use of because it shows up in everything. They just don't know it,
Mm.
or they'd rather not admit it because that would take away what they're calling fun. So
Mm.
I
Yeah.
attempt to start meet the person where they are. Okay, if drug use is not your problem, what is your problem? Let's talk about that and
Yeah.
see what we can, steps still work with that.
Well, what do you say to the person who says the same thing, but isn't an addict? So a person who doesn't, who may or may not have the disease of addiction, but who's, just out in the population and says, why don't those people just stop using?
Hmm.
We're
Well,
talking, yeah,
well, I like
the
talking
parents.
about the disease,
Yeah.
right? And I like the medical model because there are um, steps, consequences, and it's always the same. I still use the Jellinek chart, right? because it describes the symptoms, signs and
Mhm.
symptoms of the condition. And I go with that. Let's just look at what are some of the things that happen to you. Yeah.
The did you get that, Justin? The Jellinek chart.
Please explain to me what the Jellinek chart is.
Yeah, because I love it, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm, I'm sorry. Are we putting you too much in the weeds?
No,
No.
but I have an example of it
Of,
here.
of course you do, right?
It's
I'm going to need you to
you know,
explain in detail
yeah, okay.
with charts and
The,
graphs.
the signs and symptoms of using.
Oh, there are a
For
lot of
instance,
words.
for instance, a person may start like I started with just experimenting or just using sometimes. I would
Mhm.
use one weekend and I might not use the next but it turned into a daily thing. And that's the way our disease progresses. Uh, uh, because I'm thinking I'm liking it, at least I'm liking what it does for me because it removes my problems for the moment.
Mm. Mhm.
But eventually, what it does is body slam me.
Yeah.
Onset of memory blackouts.
Oof.
What is it? Increasing dependence on the chemical. It's not just every now and then. Boy, I'm feeling a little bad. And then buddy says, "Well, take some of this. That'll
Mm.
uh, wipe it out." Decreasing the ability to stop using. Promises and resolutions fail.
Oh.
Loss of other interests. And that's getting to the crucial phase of this thing. Unreasonable resentments, right? Yeah,
Did you hear that
All
one?
right,
yeah,
you're bumming me out now.
yeah, right.
Could you say that
And
one again for the
yeah,
cheap seats in the back?
but see, that's something that uh, is connected to our using initially, but when folks are practicing that kind of behavior, it becomes a habit.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so we can stop the drinking.
Mm.
We know how to do that. But it's the repetition of those experiences that, you know, keep us in trouble.
Without getting too specific in the situation, I was in a situation the other day, and I hadn't been in a similar situation in a very long time, and sort of with a Pavlovian response, I started getting into the whole ritual of the resentment and the conversation, and I just stopped, and I was like, you know what? I'm just really tired of having this conversation, and we just stopped, and I ended up taking that breath, and the person I was with had no idea what the hell I was talking about, but I took the breath and I was like, I'm actually fine. I don't need to have this conversation. I don't need to have this resentment. I've kind of done with having this being this angry.
And see, that takes practice.
Well,
That's what recovery
yeah,
is. Practice in not using and changing some of the other behaviors that have been detrimental to me.
it was weird.
Yeah.
It was weird. I almost felt like I wasn't doing that resentment justice. Like I
Mhm.
needed to. I was like, wait, is it okay for me to let this go? And it was, and it
Yeah.
is.
Dale Carnegie says, never let a person know they're wrong. How do you do that? I mean, come on.
Because everyone around me is wrong and I need to tell them.
Well, so that's where we're invited to look for the strengths in an individual, to greet a person and if no more than, man, I like that tie.
Mm.
That sets me on the John
Are you saying I
has
should be wearing ties now?
no, but I like you in ties, John Shinhouser. I like his approach. He says, hug it in, bring it on in.
Mm.
That's his thing, right?
Yeah.
And that's a sign of love.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's full of love, right?
Yeah.
He's a giving individual. A little rough on the edges sometimes.
A little bit.
Yeah, but he couldn't be. I mean, he's the person. He's the right man at the right time. I mean, yeah.
he'll give you the shirt off his back.
Yep. Yeah.
Literally.
Literally, he
Give
would.
you the
Yeah.
shirt off his I got one on now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what does it say?
It says start the conversation, recovery ally, end the stigma.
That's what I want to be,
Mm.
a recovery ally. And my favorite group are the loved ones of our participants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that work that you do, and I love the experience. I'm I'm now in a position where I occasionally do I hear birds chirping? No, I heard birds chirping. Do you hear birds
Okay.
chirping?
Well, you
Quite
like
possibly.
birds, huh?
Well, I love birds, but
Okay.
Birds exist.
That's good.
it was
That's
just
good.
it's one of the newer things I've heard. And these cans are really sensitive sometimes. I'm hearing South Pole. Anyway, back to I now communicate occasionally with parents myself, and I as a rule try to because of the way that we have things around here, I don't want to meddle or too I don't want to get too far into the weeds with parents because I also like unified messaging and the right people doing the right thing, but occasionally with some parents who I with participants I've known since I was a participant, so it was a historic relationship. But I get to have those conversations occasionally with parents and talk about things. And I just this morning got a text message from a parent, or I guess last night, and I love being able to. Well, and I get to do it when I go out in the public. I don't do it as much as I did before COVID, but out in public when we would go to these reentry affairs, and we don't do them right now yet because it's you're meeting parents of individuals who are currently incarcerated. And so, modeling recovery, when I first started doing that kind of stuff, it was scary. I would be lying if I didn't say it was still a little scary every once in a while. That little voice is that little Elvis on my my
Yeah.
shoulder. But it's really fulfilling to be able to have conversations like that and to talk to parents and say, this is where I was and this is what this is what
Yeah.
happened and this is what it's like now.
And you give that message so well.
Yeah.
So taking an opportunity to say that to a person, right?
Yeah.
That's practice for me, and hopefully it does something for you.
Yeah.
And if we treated everyone that same way, what a world it would be. Yeah.
There was a moment on I guess Monday or Tuesday. I had a one-on-one Zoom call with a new professional mentor through a leadership training, and I don't really know his background, and I don't know this is a leadership training that is not necessarily individuals in recovery, although I know one of the two facilitators is, and so I don't know, I didn't know the other person very well, but we had our first meeting and we sat down together and talked through Zoom, and I got into some of the positive reinforcement of myself, telling, being my best friend and sharing it. I was like, no, I am good at this. I'm good at that. And I like myself when I'm doing that. And, he was able to take me on a journey to see, what got me animated and talking, and like you've said,
That's
like
it,
that,
yeah.
that part where I'm,
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, let's do this, and he got me to that point. And, he stopped me and he asked me, what does that feel like? And I was really, really, I'm excited and happy. And I just kind of looked and said, you know what? And this is to take it really down real quick. It's like, I'm really sick of seeing the people I love and care about die, and I want to do this work because, I mean, not just because of that, but because recovery is a beautiful thing. And, my favorite things are when we, last night at the community meeting, we had two of
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
recent past participants come back and share what's going on with them right now, and it was a really beautiful thing,
Yeah.
and I love that. I mean,
Yeah.
let me show me a person who's been through hell and is now coming back and helping the next person.
Right.
I mean, that is the
Right.
love right
Yeah,
there.
that's it, the
That's the
love.
love. That's the
Yeah.
hit. That's the hope.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much you know about what we do with this, but we take these podcasts and we
Mhm.
give those to PayTel, and PayTel
Mhm.
distributes those free on the tablets
Yeah.
for individuals
Yeah.
who are incarcerated. And I love being able to share this
Right.
message and getting people here to share this message.
Yeah, and I want to extend again the invitation on a Wednesday night if
Mm.
you're having problems with a loved one, you're concerned, come on to the group. Come on to the group. If not live, we'd rather have you live, but you can join us on Zoom.
Mhm.
Yeah, right. And it's on the website, the address.
Yeah, mcshin.org.
Mhm.
You can find that Zoom link. It's in there
Mhm.
under probably events. It's in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well,
Mhm.
producer JB over there. That's it.
Mhm.
That's it. JB, we're calling you JB. Does that work for you?
No,
Oh
No.
no.
Yeah.
Well, I've taken
I
you
like
from your.
justice.
Like justice.
I
Okay.
was gonna name the Elvis on my shoulder, Justice, in honor of you.
Yeah. Just to say more about the loved ones of the
Sorry.
participants who suffer greatly, uh, to be able to get some relief and to be able to model recovery for their loved ones is my goal.
Yeah.
That's what I'd like to see folks be able to do.
There's a point there's a moment in your story that I've heard you tell, and it was a long time ago. So
Mhm.
uh, you'll have to. I'll refresh. I'll tell you. It was a moment where I think your mother brought you a casserole
Oh
to
my
to the
goodness!
facility in
I
Newport
was in
News.
I was in a halfway house, and she brought dinner down,
Oh.
and ungrateful me, sick me, uh, um, low self esteem. When she did that, I was so embarrassed
Mm.
that she had bought dinner down to the halfway house for 13 guys. And one of the guys said to me, "What is your problem? I wish I had somebody to do that for me." But see, that's that anger and self-hate that I had so much of at that time. And it's better. It's better, And I want to take the opportunity to attempt to appreciate what I have.
Yeah.
Um, that means so much because I didn't know how to do it at that time. Some of my friends used to call me the poor little rich boy. you you got everything going for you, but you can't see it.
Yeah.
And that's what I think plagues folks with the disease of attitude, personalities, and a general negative outlook on life. What I like about that is that it tells me also that it's deep rooted in fear, insecurity, and low self esteem. Oh my God.
Yeah.
You know, and I can work with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can
So, real quick, I'd like to
Mm.
share. There's the page, and here's the link at the bottom there. That's basically the link to this page. And when you get there for the Zoom meeting, it's one click to join right there. I'm not going to click it because I don't want to actually join the meeting currently. But to everybody watching and to everybody that sees this, it's super easy. There's the link right there. It's mcshin.org. You just go under resources and then Wednesday families group, and it takes you right to this page. One click to join. There's the I believe that's the meeting ID. I've just never seen it in that format though. But yeah, so that's all the information. And I can attest that Moses runs really, really excellent groups. I remember when the first time I got here, the first go round, your groups were actually the only ones that I looked forward to. I could not stand the groups, if I'm being perfectly honest. I couldn't. Well, because I had come from a completely different lifestyle, as did we all. But it was, staying up late, working at a club, listening to music, working with bands, that type thing. And then I went from that to being in, a church every day, sitting around listening to people lecture me. That's what it felt like,
Yeah.
and it was tough. It was super tough.
Yeah.
And, I texted friends, I texted family. I was just like, why am I here? What am I doing? Like, I don't want to be here. I hate what I'm doing right now, and, but I forget when you had your groups. And I didn't, keep track of any kind of group scales or anything like that. But I remember when you would have the groups and you would walk into the rooms, I'd be like, oh, sweet. A group that I'm not going to actually because I mean, a lot of times it was just like random people would come in and run and they wouldn't know what they would just, hey, how you feeling today? You doing okay? Yeah, for the 9th time today, I'm doing fantastic. But you would actually like challenge, our mindsets and get us involved with the groups and everything. And
that's the piece that I enjoy.
Yeah.
Come on and co-facilitate.
And even before this show started, I forget what I said, but your response was like, well, how do you know that? And I was like, oh, damn it, Moses.
but see, what I want to put out there is what I want. And see, I want someone to embrace me. My favorite theorist is God, there goes my memory. At any rate, people who care for other people and show it and attempt to bring them into the circle. So,
that makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah. And people don't know what they're capable of until they're invited. Come on. You can do this. Come on. And try it one time. And, I'll suggest to folk go in and help ask Doug, can you facilitate the meeting? Can you chair the meeting?
Oh, the 12-step meeting. Yeah.
What?
I've still yet to do that. I don't want to.
I don't.
Well, but you know what? Before you continue to beat yourself up on this, you have stepped in and hosted this show. And I think if you had been asked about that when you first started at this, in this position, you probably would have balked the same way you just balked at doing a 12-step meeting.
Well, so here's the thing. Like, I'm comfortable with microphones, headphones, things like that. I've been dealing with those for years. Like, I'm used to that. It's when there's people. When I can see like virtual people, I could be speaking to a stadium right now and no anxiety whatsoever. When I see people in front of me, I freeze. I'm just like, nope, can't. Sweat starts pouring. It just the shakes, like the whole 9 yards.
Your gift is clear. We know what your gift is, so we'll get you to do more of that.
There we go.
You fill in the world with your gift. And that makes the difference. Just finding what my gift is. Makes a difference. Yeah.
Man, I wish we could sit here for another hour.
Damn! I didn't realize it had been an hour.
but we cannot. But we do have, as everyone knows, we do have 3 shows a week: Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. We need to have you back more often. We haven't had you on one-on-one. Have we ever?
Once a month, and bring Karen in with consultant, and then some folks from some of the outside groups.
Yeah. We, as I don't know how often you look at the guests on the show, but one thing that we've been really, I think, good about doing is keeping it maybe not as well. All right, see, boy, I can't even say something nice.
Award winning.
Award winning.
That speaks for
There he
itself.
goes.
I was going to
Yeah.
say, bro. All right, you know what, man? You know what? We'll just leave it at that. Moses, do you have anything you want to say before we close out today? Before we land that plane?
I would like to encourage family members, loved ones to come and get in the herd.
Ooh.
Come join us on Wednesday night and let's see where we go.
That's awesome. Justin, you have anything you want to add before we go? Did I cut you off?
I'm just gonna second what Moses said. Like, really think about coming to the family groups. If not, joining on the Zoom. You won't be disappointed, and you'll learn something about not only McShin, but you'll probably learn something about yourself too.
And our groups end up being just like what we have here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just we're together and we're looking for the good in everything we do.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, look, I'll tell you what, next week we'll see you on Tuesday. Have a good, it's Thursday, but have a good weekend to all y'all out there. I had myself some North Carolina barbecue
All
right
right.
before. So all y'all.
All y'all.
We'll see all y'all next week now. Have a good time now here.
Thank you.
Here at McShin, we believe in the McShin way, which is authentic recovery support service providers, people with lived experience, bringing that experience to those who need that lived experience in recovery.
Here at McShin, we believe in many things to support our mission. We believe in women empowerment.
What I love most about what we believe here at McShin is we believe in the authenticity of the peer-to-peer approach.
Here at the McShin Foundation, we believe in giving people opportunity.
Here at McShin, we believe in the inherent worth and dignity of every person.
At the McShin Foundation, we believe in helping people reach their full potential.
Here at the McShin Foundation, we believe in multiple pathways to recovery.
Here at McShin, we believe in placing principles before personalities to help spread hope.
Here at McShin, we believe that recovery is possible and that any person seeking recovery can become a more acceptable, responsible, and productive member of society.
Here at the McShin Foundation, we believe in self-discovery.
Here at McShin, we believe in saving lives and offering second chances.
Here at McShin, we believe you can do this.
Here at the McShin Foundation, we believe that we can only keep what we have by giving away, which is why we continue to help others like us seek and find recovery.
Any place, we'll get there soon.